and welcome to The One Show with Matt Baker.
And Alex Jones. Now, tonight's guests know their way around a palace or two.
Now, one broke the heart of a young Queen Victoria.
And the other, believe it or not, has been rubbing shoulders with Henry VIII's 6 wives.
Please welcome Rufus Sewell and Lucy Worsley.
Good evening to you both. Hello.
Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you.
Now, Lucy,
look at Lucy's face.
we hear that you're so chuffed to be sitting next to Lord Melbourne from Victoria. Well, you and me both, to be fair. I mean, your cheekbones are a revelation, my friend.
Why, thank you.
Any shading?
Yeah, what do you say to that?
Natural?
Well, you know, I'm not wearing a lot of shading now, but in the day, you know, just a touch under here.
It was a fantastic
That's
series,
a joke,
wasn't it,
by the way.
Lucy? How pleased were you when you found out that you'd be on the same sofa as Rufus from Victoria this evening?
Really?
See?
Lots of very jealous
Lots of
colleagues at the office today.
I'm sure.
And Rufus, I mean, you know, from an actor's perspective, how much do you kind of care about what historians think about it? Because obviously you're portraying the character in this, that and the other, but how important is it to you that you get a good critique from the likes of Lucy?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's not all historians think the same thing, you know. But it matters to me to a certain extent. I mean, I read as much as I could about Lord Melbourne, so I really wanted to portray him as accurately and to do him justice.
Have you always been into history? Because you do a lot of
Not
these
really. I
historical
mean,
films.
you know, a lot of it's trying to catch up because, you know, at school I tended to be in the park for history, so it's a matter of trying to catch up a bit.
Know the
Yes.
feeling?
Yes.
Know the
I
feeling?
know. But actually, weirdly enough, it's one of these things that I regret quite a lot because through my work and through getting jobs and just doing a little bit of research and getting into these books, I've discovered a bit of a love for it. It's not like I know much more
To have that realisation.
Yeah,
It's great.
A little late.
Well, we'll talk more about it a lot
will.
later on because you've got lots of stuff going on. But now this week, I've seen hundreds of UK organisations take part in an event called #GivingTuesday, which is said to be the biggest day of donating to charity worldwide.
But unfortunately, where there's money, there's sometimes unscrupulous people trying to cash in on your generosity, as Dan discovers.
When it comes to charity, we're a nation of givers, donating more than £10.5 billion last year alone.
But when you're handing over your cash, how sure can you be that the money is going to the good cause of your choice and not just lining the pockets of some con artist?
It's estimated that nearly £2 billion of our donations last year were pocketed by fake fundraisers and bogus collectors.
The fraudsters will try all kinds of tricks to get their hands on our cash.
This is Simon Buckton from Leeds, carrying the Olympic torch in 2012. He told people he was a war veteran, raising money for military charities because of his own experience of post-traumatic stress disorder.
By the time I was 18, I was on the front line in Iraq. Watching my friends die left me struggling with flashbacks and nightmares.
He also claimed to be fighting a serious illness.
I was diagnosed with cancer. I was unwilling to let this stop me.
Filmmaker Mark Curry was so moved by Buckton's story, he made that promotional film for nothing, waiving the £3,000 fee.
It seemed like he'd had several people's misfortunes all rolled into one. I thought, I'm going to help this guy. I think, you know, he deserves help.
But Buckton was lying. As an army clerk, he'd never seen frontline action. He'd never been diagnosed with cancer either. He was simply a con man, helping himself to almost £8,000 worth of donations. 3 weeks ago, a judge jailed him for 16 months.
He's done quite a lot of damage to the greater charitable cause. Everybody likes to give on trust, and if he's destroyed some of that trust in people, then how do you put a price on that?
According to the Charity Commission, more than a third of frauds are inside jobs, carried out by someone who works or volunteers for a legitimate charity. Take Carolyn Jones from Marchwood in Hampshire. She organised fun days to raise money for the children's ward at Southampton General. Among the hundreds who turned up was genuine fundraiser Vicky Mostran. It wasn't long before she started to suspect Jones's motives.
It was after the event, really, when she never announced the money that she'd raised at the end, which we all found a bit strange. So then people got suspicious and started asking questions.
Jones had simply pocketed the money she raised, almost £5,000.
And what effect has the loss of this money had on the charity and the community?
Everyone's obviously very disappointed and feel duped. They put their trust in her. Obviously, everyone that was handing money over on the day thought that it had reached the charity, and it didn't.
Vicky has now set herself the target of replacing the money stolen from the charity.
And justice has now caught up with our fake fundraiser, Carolyn Jones.
She's just been sentenced after being found guilty of 2 counts of fraud and 1 of theft. She's been given a suspended 18-month prison sentence and ordered to carry out 250 hours of unpaid work.
Are you going to give the money back, Miss Jones? Where did the money go, Miss Jones?
It seems these days, Carolyn Jones is less keen to talk about her charitable work. So how can the rest of us be sure our donations are safe?
Hello, good to meet you.
Michelle Russell's the Charity Commission's Director of Investigations. She says we all have a role in fighting charity fraud.
So if you want to give to a charity, go onto our website and check who they are, what they are, and what they say they're doing. If something feels suspicious, you're probably right, but make sure you report it.
But Michelle still wants us to carry on supporting good causes.
Don't stop giving. Don't let this put you off, but give safely.
And we're sure it won't, because we know how generous you are as viewers, especially in the last few months with the Rickshaw Challenge.
Absolutely.
But there is a link to the Charity Commission on our website, just in case you have any doubts.
Now, Rufus, we were just talking about the fact that you've come from rehearsals for this wonderful play that you're doing at the Old Vic on the 10th of December. It's called Art. I half expected you to turn up with lots of bits of paint all over you, but that's very
Gave me
much
just
not
enough
the
time
case.
to shower that off before I got here. We did a run through just literally like half an hour before I got here.
I mean, look, these are the publicity
that was actually the first day I met my co-stars. It was like one of these kind of corporate bonding experiences. When they just put us together, they gave us tins of paint and they said, go. And they photographed it as we spent about an hour or so just chucking paint on it.
Brilliant.
It was actually quite cool.
What
It
a
worked.
laugh.
Is there much paint in the actual production?
No, there's not. And there's not a lot of colour, actually, because it's called Art. It's kind of about art, but it's also kind of about friends. It's about one guy who I play called Serge, who spends a lot of money on a painting which he shows to his friend. And Serge thinks this painting's like got a lot of detail and texture and hidden colour, but Mark looks at it and to him it's white. It's a white rectangle. Right. And then when he finds out how much money he spends on it, he calls him a fool, uses different words, and says that it is not a very good piece of art, in different words, and they fall out. And then there's another friend, Ivan, who really wants his mates just to stay friendly because they're, you know, he wants everything to be nice. And it's basically about these 3 relationships that kind of fall apart because of this one purchase.
What have you purchased that's cost a lot and other people have thought it was a bit of a...
Well, I mean, I did kind of identify with Serge a little bit because, I remember years and years ago, I couldn't drive, I didn't have a licence, and I'd suddenly earned a bit of money, and I was never really into money, but I suddenly had some, and I spent more than I should have on a stereo. I just had this big...
What, for the car?
No, I didn't have a car. I couldn't drive, but I had a house.
Well, that's what I thought
that would have been a real waste of money. Just walk around looking for a car. No, I had this stereo, and I would just get people back, and I'd play them bits of music so they could hear the sound quality. But if they didn't appear to be like really appreciating the sound quality, I'd put another piece of music and just watch the pressure on these poor people. That I just. So I kind of recognised that.
Please tell me it's still in the garage.
It's actually in storage now.
Is it? Yeah.
It's probably worth about 15 quid on eBay.
Yeah, brilliant though, as long as it's still there.
Exactly. Lucy, what about you?
Oh, my advice is buying old clothes. By which I mean
stuff.
vintage dresses, if you want to make it sound posher than
Go on, the most expensive.
Ooh, well, the thing is, they're often surprisingly cheap, so I can be really annoying when people say, where did you get that? I say, oh, it's a little number from 1965, and it only cost me £25. So there's 2 reasons to hate me.
OK. Go on.
With your kind of theatre then, and obviously the kind of big screen stuff that you do as well, and small screen stuff, is it important for you to keep that mix going as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the most important thing is to play different kinds of roles, you know. And if I was offered really different varying roles in films, I might just do films. But for me, if I want to have a lot of variety, I'm not fussy about whether I work in television, film, radio, theatre, whatever. And I'm quite lucky enough to be able to, at the moment, to go between those things.
Yeah, well, we've touched on Victoria, which was a huge success, of course. The Man in the High Castle goes into the second series.
Yes.
Now, this was a massive success on Amazon Prime Video. For those who haven't seen quite the first series, just paint a picture for us.
Well, it was a book written by Philip K. Dick, who's like this very famous science fiction writer. Wrote the book that Blade Runner was based on. And it's set in 1962 in America, 15 years after the Nazis and the Japanese won the Second World War. So it's about America that has been divided between the Japanese and the Nazis. And for 15 years, the Americans have been living in the New York side and accepting Nazism. And I play this all-American Nazi hero called Obergruppenführer Smith. It's very, very dark, but in another history, he would have been maybe a good man. So it's quite...
very interesting concept, that kind of reimagining history. Let's just have a taster of what's to come in Series 2.
You realise your father is one of the most powerful men in the Reich. Why not take advantage?
We are on the same side. He stands against the Nazis, against the Japanese. It stands for freedom. If they die. Everything will be fine.
It's a really interesting concept. Really interesting. What do you make of that, then, Lucy, as a concept, reimagining history?
Well, I was just thinking there ought to be more car chases in my history shows, don't you think? Yeah. No, it's always really fruitful route to go down because it makes you sort of question your assumptions about things.
Yeah, what could have been, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, The Man in the High Castle, Series 2, will be on Amazon Prime Video from the 16th of December, and Art opens at the Old Vic in London on the 10th of December.
Yeah, all the best with that, Rufus. Now, some darker moments from recent history continue to resonate today. On the BBC's Asian Network, a recurring issue amongst listeners has been whether India's controversial caste system has secretly made its way to the UK.
Caste is the social group you are placed in from birth, which could limit your prospects for the rest of your life. Here's Nihal from the Asian Network to explain more.
As a British Asian, I'm more than aware of the destructive power of racism. But there's one form of prejudice that some in the Asian community would prefer to keep hidden. It's discrimination based on the Indian caste system, a rigid social hierarchy that divides people into different ranking castes. And at the bottom are the untouchables, or Dalits.
This is BBC Asian Network.
It might come as a surprise to you to learn that caste discrimination is not something from the past, nor is it something that exists purely in India. In fact, it's happening here in the UK. It's something that people don't really want to talk about, but if you scratch the surface, it soon bubbles up. On the Asian Network, where I'm a presenter, our phone-ins have often covered caste. Nisha, is this an issue?
It really separates people, and I don't think it's a really good thing at all.
Caste system in this country, it is harmful, more harmful than racism.
Everybody was claiming we are better than you, you're lower than us, and there was a lot of name-calling.
Phone-ins are one thing, but it's difficult to get people to talk on the record. I've come to Coventry to meet someone who will. Devinder Prasad moved here from India in 1978. Devinder, tell me about your family background in India.
My dad used to tell me that when he went to school, they used to beat him up every day, and he was made to sit in a corner, and he was not allowed to drink water in school. He had to walk half a mile, 5-year child walking half a mile to just having a drink of water. I mean, that's how cruel it was, right?
In the UK, Devinder built a career at a local company. Then, in the 1990s, 2 Asian colleagues recognised his Dalit surname.
And I saw a change in their attitudes toward me. They started telling things about me and winding my boss up against me.
Devinder says his boss began to humiliate him in public.
But he says, oh, I know about all you people, you know, back in India. I know what they think of you lot, you know, how people treat you there. That's when it dawned on me what was happening. That part of my life was pretty difficult to deal with. One of the darkest period of my life.
But this is a story with a hero. Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar was born a Dalit at the turn of the century. Because his father was in the military, he was able to get a good education, and he became a leading lawyer. In 1947, he worked closely with Mahatma Gandhi to draft the new Indian constitution after India gained independence from Britain. But when it came to tackling abuses within the caste system, the two men did not see eye to eye. Santosh Das is a campaigner who has studied Gandhi's views on the untouchables.
His attitude was that we carry on with things as they are, and where we can do anything, you know, for people, the so-called untouchables, that we will.
And what did Dr. Ambedkar make of Gandhi's attitude to caste?
Well, Dr. Ambedkar genuinely believed that the only way that his people could progress and that the country could progress was if they were to have separate seats in Parliament.
Dr. Ambedkar insisted on legislation that would give rights to Dalits.
A lot of our generation of people who came up here, who worked in factories and airports, you know, like my dad and mum did, we owe Dr. Ambedkar for this, you know, this new life.
This year marks the 125th anniversary of Dr. Ambedkar's birth, and people all over the world are celebrating his legacy.
Tonight, here at the Indian High Commission, people from all different backgrounds are mixing and mingling freely.
I can't think of a more fitting tribute to the life of Dr. Ambedkar, or a better reason for Dalits in Britain to believe in a brighter future.
Well, thanks to Nihal, and also thanks to Devinder there for his honesty in sharing his story with us.
Yes. Now, Lucy, for your most recent project, you have travelled back to the Tudor court, which I'm very happy about, and you look at significant moments in the life of Henry VIII and look at his 6 wives. Now, difficult question, I've asked myself many times. If you had to, right, pick a best mate out of the 6, who would you pick?
Well, for me, it's easy. Catherine of Aragon.
Same.
Well,
why? Go on, why?
Why? Because a lot of people would be saying, why haven't they picked Anne Boleyn? That's the entry-level answer. Too obvious.
And Anne Boleyn wasn't particularly very nice.
She wasn't. And I'm not saying that that is necessarily a bad thing in a woman. It's important sometimes to be dislikable. That should be celebrated, get stuff done. But Catherine of Aragon, I think, is really, seriously, overlooked as a person.
The stable one. I mean, she was there first, let's not forget.
She was there for 24 years.
Yeah.
And people think of her towards the end, and they think of her as being shriveled up and disappointed and maybe nagging at him.
Well, she'd been through a lot.
She had, and that's just to overlook.
Yeah.
We're definitely on the wives' side here, aren't we?
We
and
are.
our show is totally on the side of the wives. And people forget that for 20 of the years, she handled him really well. And
he loved her.
He did. And there's such a lot to admire in her as well. She was distinguished, well-educated. She ruled the country when he was abroad. She ruled the country on occasion, a bit better than he did, actually. This is possibly a problem between them. And she's just an admirable person.
I feel like I'm watching Loose Women.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I don't know why.
It's like the historic version.
Now, yeah, exactly. So this new series starts Wednesday, then.
Yes.
It's been billed as groundbreaking because there's this mix between history and drama. So just give us an idea, Lucy, what we're about to see then on Wednesday.
Well, half the time I'm travelling around Europe visiting the places where the wives were and seeing some of the 500-year-old artefacts that they touched and had contact with. And then I go travelling into the past and I'm in the Tudor Palace and there's Henry and there's the wives and it's all unfolding before you.
Here's an example.
And in every
there you go.
there's somebody in the corner watching. And there's a little housemaid or sometimes a lowly lady in waiting and sometimes a gardener going, what's going on? And that's me.
It's such a sweet idea,
It is.
actually,
It's
this.
a really
We're going to take a look
brilliant
now at the moment that Catherine of Aragon is fighting to save her marriage to Henry VIII. Here we go.
Henry expects the clerics to grant him his annulment. But Catherine's about to take a huge gamble and publicly put her case to the Pope's representative and to the King himself.
I implore you,
to consider your actions today, but also to know that regardless of the decision you make, I remain your devoted servant. And you remain my one true husband.
Oh, come on, Lucy.
Very dramatic.
Good reactions.
Yeah.
So on her side.
Yeah.
And I hope that everybody watching will think that's a woman to admire.
Yeah, I mean, you were seriously feeling it there, weren't you, in that role, in that
I
character?
defy you not to see her after 25 years marriage, to be on her knees in front of that man saying, do me justice here.
Yeah. Good acting skills, though. One of the most exciting things in the series is that you get to go to the Vatican. Nobody else has been allowed, right? And Lucy gets to read the letters that were written from Henry to Anne Boleyn. I mean, how did you get in? Why are you, and what did they say, and what was the most amazing thing for you reading those letters?
Well, it was a bit like the Da Vinci Code, you know, going into the Vatican Library. I can't tell you why they let us do it. It's a bit of a mystery. I guess we asked in a really nice way. But there were the 16 letters written by Henry VIII to Anne Boleyn. Amazing. You could see where he'd signed it. And the thing is, he hated writing letters as well. This is very hard work.
They're really long.
What sense did you get from his handwriting?
Oh,
Was it readable?
yeah, ish. You struggled, and you could struggle with it. But what was really so moving was the way that he'd signed these little hearts at the end, and he's sort of written his initials and her initials, and he tied them together. And he says, "Yours that ever is, was, and shall be."
Yeah. Well, he's so fickle, though, isn't he? That's the problem with that man.
Well, that's...
Back to the loose women thing again.
Anyway, 6 Hours with Lucy Worsley starts next Wednesday at 9 o'clock on BBC One. And viewers in Wales, you can see it at 10:40, and in Scotland, slightly later again, midnight.
Now, of course, Lucy, we know how much you enjoy examining priceless artefacts in royal palaces.
On a daily basis. But imagine if you found one at home behind your chimney breast. Now, bear with me on this, because it actually happened, and Jean Johansson has the story.
It was back in 2007. An anonymous man carrying a bundle of rags arrived at the National Library of Scotland.
A gentleman walked in with a poly bag and said, "I got this and thought you might be interested."
He claimed it was found hidden in a chimney, but what was thought to be rags actually turned out to be a very rare map of the world.
Put into storage to be studied at a later date, it remained untouched for almost a decade.
That is until April this year, when conservator Claire Thompson was tasked with turning those rags, quite literally, into riches.
It was in such bad condition. There was only just over 50% actually still there. A lot of it had been eaten away.
It looks like a jigsaw puzzle. Is that how you approached it?
So the first thing I did was to dry clean it with soft brushes and a tiny vacuum. Then humidified it. I then put a facing onto the front of the map, and that just held everything together. The map could then be washed, then relined. I've worked in the library for over 30 years, and this is by far the most challenging project I've had to date.
But Claire's hard work has paid off, revealing an impressive 7x5 foot map, which offers curator Paula Williams some very valuable clues.
What we have is the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere dividing the world up into two. And what it does is reflect the explorations, particularly of the Dutch at the time.
I've spotted a quite dapper character here, Wilhelmus III.
That's William III and Mary. And that allows us to date the map around about 1690. The map would have been printed originally, we think, in Amsterdam, and they probably only made a maximum of a couple of hundred of them.
What about the countries? Because I spotted one here, Hollandia Nova, that's New Holland, but to me it looks a bit like Australia.
It is Australia, but it's only part of Australia.
So this is how the map maker thought the world looked?
Yes,
okay.
Or the person who was paying the map maker.
How did this end up in a chimney in Aberdeen?
It could be just that it was simply to stop a draft, or it could be to do with William and Mary. He became a villainous character and quite contentious, and you might not want people to think that you were a William sympathiser. Or it could just have been the cold wind in Aberdeen.
Yeah, keeps the cold wind out. But what we still don't know is who handed it in.
Well,
Thanks to a bit of detective work, we've tracked him down and I'm on my way to Aberdeen to meet him. Brian, how did you come across this map?
Well, I actually didn't find it. It was a friend of mine. He was working renovating an old house and this map fell out the ceiling, basically. He brought it in to show it to me.
How did you feel? It must have been quite
I
exciting.
was very excited to do this, and then I was actually quite terrified because as you touched it, it fell apart again. I contacted the museum, the National Library of Scotland, so they had a look at it, and then I thought, well, that's it.
Are you ready to
super.
see your bag of
Yeah, I'd
rags
love
now?
to see
Let's
this.
have a look.
Gosh, and you can see the two orbs. My goodness.
Isn't that amazing?
And it was just a bag of rags.
Sometimes I think everything happens for a reason, and this
I-
map ended up in the hands of a geography teacher who just happens to love maps,
Yeah.
so maybe it was fate.
Maybe it was there as well.
Thank you, Jean. Now, we've been talking about kings and queens this evening, and as Lucy over here knows, many a king and queen have come to a, should we say, sticky end over the centuries. Giles, my friend, over to you.
Here we are. We are going to play the Monarch's Wheel of Misfortune. And my trusty servant Dave is going to spin the wheel. It will stop at a particular monarch, and I will then ask both teams how they think that particular monarch met their end.
Right.
So, are you ready, teams?
I think we are, Lucy.
Would you,
Ready?
Dave, spin that wheel of misfortune? He spins the wheel, and where do we end? We end up with Charles II of Navarre. Charles II of Navarre. Was he set alight in his own bed? Or did he drink himself to death by consuming 38 litres of carrot juice in 10 days, causing him to overdose on vitamin A and suffer severe liver damage? Which was it?
I would say the first.
Well, so would I.
I would say the first one.
You say he set himself alight?
Set himself
Rufus
alight.
says-
That's what- that's my-
we want that
We can
answer
do it.
too.
We can
Go
go
both
both.
sides.
you
He
can
set
have-
himself
we can have
alight.
a point each.
You are both right. What happened? After he suffered a severe illness, he was actually sewn up in a sort of linen sheet, and it was put. Lots of alcohol was put on it to make him healthy, and unfortunately got too near the flame, and he burned himself to death.
And
Would
they
you please
didn't have juicers in those days either. That's
spin that wheel? We're spinning the wheel of misfortune, and we're ending up with Empress Elizabeth of Austria. And the question is, how did Empress Elizabeth of Austria die? Was it that she was stabbed in the heart by an anarchist, or was she killed after tripping over her husband's beard? Elizabeth
husband's
II,
beard?
Empress Elizabeth of Austria.
I think we should go probably for, although I like the idea of the long beard.
I like the idea of it. Yes, it sounds very hipster, but I don't think
Very
it's...
hipster.
What are you going for?
Anarchists.
Anarchist.
Yeah.
Stabbed in the heart by an anarchist. Yes,
Anarchist.
indeed. And you're both right. It was very bad. Yes. Because Luigi headed to Geneva to actually kill somebody else, and the other person had left town, so he decided to kill Elizabeth the Austrian. Okay,
Ah,
one
okay.
more.
That's fair enough
Quick
then,
one.
in that case.
Quickly now.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've stopped at Prince Philippe of France. And the question is, Prince Philippe of France, how did he die? Was he killed by a tortoise dropped by an eagle that had mistaken his bald head for a rock, suitable for shattering the shell? Or did he fall off his horse after it tripped over a pig?
You go first and we'll
I
do the
go
other
for
one.
2. B, or whatever we're calling it.
B,
Yes.
yes.
The pig.
His horse tripped over a pig, which is it?
Come on, we'll go for the first one, so we're different.
You're different.
Yeah.
You are right. Well done. Rufus is a team. You win.
Congratulations.
We've thrown you. There we are. Lord Melbourne gets to be king
It
after all.
doesn't quite fit.
Beautiful.
It doesn't... Okay.
Very good, very good.
Come on,
Thank you.
Rufus.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well done, Dave.
Jack.
Loving your work,
Thank you.
as always.
think
That
I'm
was
gonna keep
fantastic. Good stuff.
Well, thanks to all our guests this evening. It's been marvellous. Best of luck with both your shows.
Thank you.
Very good. Our guest tomorrow will be Nicole Scherzinger and Busted.
I can't
I'm
wait
so
for that.
delighted they're Busted are back. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be
No,
here.
I know.
Because I'm off to country
On to
farm.
country
There we
farm.
are. Charles,
Thanks,
thank you
all.
so
It's
much.
been
better. That
lovely.
Francis.
That looks good.
I wear it better than you did.
While Jane's struggling and Stacey's visit could make things even worse. EastEnders, next.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me.
Watch your little ones discover CBeebies Playtime Island. Brand new app that games with all their CBeebies friends. Free to download now.
We're gonna rock your Saturday nights.
Get your dancing shoes on, my friend.
With big stars, big laughs, and even bigger surprises.
Are you up for that?
Michael McIntyre's Big Show continues Saturday at 8 on BBC One.
You know where's going to take me when I'm led to a few criminals.
He's so handsome.
From royalty to slavery.
The reality of it in my family, it's a tough thing.
Under every family tree, the roots run deep.
How can you get obsessed about something that happened nearly 150 years ago?
I feel really, really proud of him. It's incredible.
He's a powerful, powerful man, and I'm hopelessly in love with him.
Who Do You Think You Are continues with Amanda Holden tonight at 8 on BBC One. Yes, Amanda's loving the idea of having French roots. Heading to Bordeaux is a good start. That's in half an hour. First on BBC One, I'm not quite ready to hear Slade, but we have got the tinsel out.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm just tired.
You thought about if you want me to text about?
About what? What? It doesn't matter.
You know what, babe? I don't think we've got enough tinsel.
You can never have too much tinsel. We've got the girls from the Bullet tomorrow night for the darts, and I ain't having them turning up their noses at my tinsel. Huh? She gets more visitors than we do, and we run a pub.
Yeah, I don't think it's all roses.
Well, it ain't gonna be, is it?
No, I mean, between them.
What?
It can't be easy, you know, like, his wife's in a wheelchair, so...
Oh, well, I can't imagine it's very easy for her.
No, what I'm trying to say to you is I think he's struggling, you know what I mean?
I should go and see her.
No. Ian's going to deal with it.
No, that's what I'm afraid of.
No.
Yeah.
Don't you start getting involved.
Jane,
Just a minute.
I'm going to see you home from work. Because I miss you, don't I? Stop it, you're going to get me going.
I am nearly at the end of this chapter.
So, it's really for real?
She deserves it. Have you ever asked her?
Oh no, Jack, Brad.
Yeah, what's wrong with her?
Well, don't get me wrong, I didn't.
Hello?
Has he, What? I'm about the only one around here that hasn't seen it.
That is my sister's fiance you're talking about.
Well, it didn't stop you jumping him, did it?
I'm happy for her, all right? Anyway, you're the one that told me I shouldn't take Amy.
Just saying. Kid with you, kid with your cousin.
Right, you've made your point.
Kid in France. Hardly got an history of keeping it in his pants, has he?
And that was all in the past.
It was so easy to wind up.
Right, I spoke to one of the mums at school. Now, what do you think about Mauritius for a honeymoon?
Right, which one of you has eaten all of their advent calendar?
Me. Not really.
Ricky? What's happening, mate?
I don't want to move.
Why?
Because you'll leave me.
Why would I leave you?
Because that's what Mum did when she brought me here.
I'm never going to leave you.
None of us are going to leave you.
Only if you eat all the chocolate.
Come here. Listen. No one is going to leave anyone anywhere. All right? This family's forever. Kiss. Kiss.
What have you done now?
It's about Eddie Kendall's funeral. You have to say I can go.
I don't have to do anything.
Mum!
You are not going to his funeral.
I'll be the only one not there!
You're not making any sense.
What I mean is... You know...
No, I don't know. That's what I keep saying.
You and me. Some special time. Just the two of us.
Special time.
Yeah, special time.
For what?
For Christmas shopping. Winterville, West End.
I am not about to be wheeled in and out of shops by you all day.
Okay, well, let's go for a nice lunch.
I am not going Christmas shopping. Wait, Kathy, have you seen how much money in Jack's place is? No, I haven't looked. I'm not going to do it longer, though. I'm going to forget that for it, will they? Have you got any sticky tape? I've got extra tinsel. Make the place really festive for the darts, keep on with our winning streak after beating your ex-director. Well, she walked. The monster. No, Kathy slapped her. You didn't. Listen, that's what I wanted to ask you. Derek has agreed to direct. Is he gay or just theatrical? But I still need a set, cast...